The training yard erupted in chaos the moment Ranger broke free. The moment Ranger entered the yard, everyone stepped back. Fall back. Fall back. The chief yelled as the men retreated. Ranger's snarls sliced through the air. His muscles coiled like a predator ready to strike. Officers shouted commands, pulling desperately on his leash. But the massive German shepherd fought with a fury none of them had ever seen. 2 trainers had already been injured. The chief was moments away from declaring the unthinkable. Ranger was too dangerous to save. No command worked. No handler could get close. The crowd stepped back in fear, whispers rising as the dog's rage grew more dangerous by the second. Everyone believed the same terrifying truth. Ranger was too dangerous to ever serve. Again, but then she arrived, a lone female. Officers stepped through the gate, calm, steady, completely unfazed by the chaos unfolding around her. "Let me try," she said, removing her vest as the crowd erupted in disbelief. Was she insane? Brave, or did she know something they didn't? Officer Claire Mills walked into the arena with calm eyes and steady hands, facing the dog that had sent trained men running. No one understood why she wasn't afraid, why she walked closer when everyone else backed away. Everyone held their breath. Ranger wasn't just attacking. He was trying to tell them something. Something only Claire would understand. But what she did next would shock every single person watching and reveal a truth no one saw coming. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The sun beat down on the dusty training ranch as officers from 3 different counties gathered along the wooden fence, their arms crossed, their eyes tense. In the center of the arena, a German shepherd named Ranger exploded into a frenzy, yanking a fully grown officer across the dirt like he weighed nothing. His snarls echoed off the rails, sharp and violent, sending dust swirling around terrified boots. "Get back!" Someone shouted as another officer tried to approach, only for Ranger to lunge with a force that made even the toughest men flinch. Commands were shouted: sit, heel, down. But nothing worked. The dog's eyes burned with something between fear and fury. A wild storm no one could calm. 2 trainers limped to safety, shaken and embarrassed. The ranch chief, frustration etched deep into his brow, muttered, "He's beyond saving. If we can't control him today, he's done retired or worse." Whispers spread through the crowd. Some blamed the dog. Others blamed his previous handler. But beneath Ranger's aggression, there was something else, something no one bothered to see. His breaths were ragged, his body tense, but not with hatred. The chief sighed heavily. "No one can control him," he declared. The murmurs around the ranch died down when a lone figure stepped forward. Officer Claire Mills. Her calm presence contrasted sharply with the chaos Ranger had created. Blonde hair pulled neatly behind her, badge shining against her dark uniform. She walked with the confidence of someone who had seen storms far worse than this one, but the men along the fence exchanged doubtful glances. "That's Claire, the canine specialist?" One whispered. Another scoffed. "Specialist or not, that dog will tear her apart." Claire ignored them completely. Instead, she focused on Ranger, studying the rise and fall of his tense shoulders, the frantic movement of his paws, the way his growls cracked into moments of hesitation. Something about his posture spoke to her. Ranger barked sharply when he noticed her approach, his tail rigid, his ears pinned back. But his eyes, those wild, restless eyes, flickered with a brief, confused pause. Claire stopped several feet away, lowering her gaze, lowering her energy, showing she wasn't a threat. "Easy, boy," she whispered, more to him than to the officers. The ranch chief stepped forward, alarmed. "Mills, don't even think about it. We've lost 2 trainers already." She removed her vest, her belt, even her radio, placing them gently on the ground. "If I walk in there," she said softly, "it's because I see something all of you missed." The wind settled. The crowd leaned in. Claire took her first step into the arena. Claire took another slow step into the arena, boots pressing softly into the dust. Ranger's growl deepened, echoing like thunder across the wooden rails. His body lowered, ready to spring, and several officers reached for tranquilizer rifles. "Claire, stop!" Someone yelled. But she didn't. Instead, she knelt one knee in the dirt, hands resting calmly at her sides. The entire ranch went silent. No one understood what she was doing. Kneeling in front of an enraged, uncontrollable police dog looked like madness. Ranger circled her, barking, teeth bared, claws slicing into the soil. His breath came in sharp bursts, each one louder than the last. But Claire stayed perfectly still, her voice steady, barely above a whisper. "It's okay. I'm not here to fight you." The dog lunged, an explosion of muscle and fear. Officers gasped. Someone fired a warning shot into the air, terrified she'd be torn apart. But Claire didn't move. She tilted her head just slightly and murmured something soft, something only Ranger could hear. And miraculously, he stopped, inches from her face, chest heaving, eyes trembling, not with rage, but with confusion. Claire slowly lifted her hand not to touch him, just to show it was empty, harmless. Ranger barked once, a sharp, broken sound. Not angry, wounded. Ranger stood frozen before Claire, trembling, growls fading into low whimpers. She watched him carefully, every twitch, every breath, every tiny flinch. Something wasn't right. His aggression wasn't coming from dominance or disobedience. It was coming from pain. Slowly, Claire leaned a little closer, keeping her movements soft, deliberate. Ranger didn't attack. He only watched her, confused, wounded eyes flickering with a plea no one else had noticed. "That's it. Let me see," she whispered. Her gaze dropped to the tactical harness wrapped tightly around his torso. At first glance, it seemed normal. But as Ranger shifted uneasily, Claire noticed a thin line of dried blood trailing beneath the strap. Her heart clenched. "Chief," she said without turning, "get me a knife now." The officers hesitated, unsure if getting closer was safe. "He's hurt," Claire insisted. "This strap is cutting into him." Gasps rippled through the crowd as she gently slid her fingers under the harness. Ranger winced, body tightening, but he didn't bite. Instead, he pressed his head closer to Claire, as if begging for relief. The chief handed her a utility knife with shaking hands. Claire carefully sliced the strap open, revealing a deep, hidden wound, raw, infected, and painfully neglected. Ranger let out a heartbreaking whine. The arena fell silent. He wasn't attacking, Claire said softly, tears burning her eyes. He was hurting and grieving. The moment the strap snapped free, Ranger staggered sideways as if a weight he'd carried for months finally loosened. His legs shook beneath him. Dust rose in a soft cloud as he lowered himself toward Claire slowly, trembling until his massive body collapsed against her knees. A collective gasp swept across the ranch. This was the same dog who had dragged grown men across the arena. Now trembling like a frightened child, Claire's voice softened. "It's okay, boy. I've got you." Ranger pressed his head into her chest, his breaths uneven, his body shuddering with pain and exhaustion. When Claire gently touched the exposed wound, he didn't snap. He simply whimpered, a heartbreaking sound that made even the toughest officers swallow hard. "He's not aggressive," she murmured, brushing dirt from his fur. "He's been suffering alone." The ranch chief rubbed his eyes, overwhelmed. "All this time, and none of us saw it." Then Ranger did the unimaginable. He lifted his head, leaned forward, and slowly licked Claire's hand, a gesture so small yet so powerful that it stunned everyone watching. Officers who once doubted her stood silent. Humbled, Claire looked up. "He needs care, time, someone who won't give up on him." The chief nodded instantly. "Take him, Mills. He trusts you more than he's trusted anyone in a long time." Ranger rose weakly and followed Claire out of the arena. The weeks that followed transformed Ranger's life. Under Claire's gentle care, his wound healed, his posture softened, and his eyes, once filled with rage and fear, began to shine with trust. She trained him patiently, never raising her voice, never forcing a command. And day by day, Ranger responded. Finally, the ranch scheduled one last evaluation. Officers gathered again, unsure of what to expect. Claire stepped into the arena, Ranger at her side, calm, focused, ready. "Ranger, heel." He obeyed instantly. "Sit." His posture straightened with pride. Every command, every movement, precise and flawless. The same men who once called him dangerous now applauded, some even wiping tears. The chief approached with a warm smile. "Mills, he's a new dog. And if he's going back into service, he's going with you." Claire knelt, wrapping her arms around Ranger. He gently rested his head against her heart, choosing his new handler without hesitation. Sometimes the fiercest aggression hides the deepest wounds. And sometimes all it takes is one person brave enough to understand.